What's up, friends and family? It's Brian Castrillo. I just watched the season finale of The Terminalist, and this episode, this series, everything about it is amazing. From the writing of Jack Carr, absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to check out his book. And again, his site is going to be in this video. Check out his site. He's got a lot of cool stuff, not just his books, but there are 5 of them. To the acting, from Christina Vidal to J.D. Pardo, Jean Triplehorn, Constance Wu, Taylor Kitsch, Chris Pratt, just absolutely fantastic. From the cinematography to the choreographed fight scenes that we see, to the writing, to the directing, producing, just wow. And in fact, before I go over, the events of this episode, stop right now, do yourself a favor and go back and watch this series on Amazon Prime. I promise you will not you will not be disappointed. Once you do that, come back and check out my reviews and let me know what you thought, because I'd love to hear from you if this is the first time you're seeing me doing this. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. This series deserves an award, deserves all kinds of awards. If I could hand them out, I would. But go check out the series if you haven't already. But anyways, we start the series and we see, Ben's in the bathroom. He's got like some sort of disguise he's getting ready to do, and we see James. He's watching the news, and it looks like obviously they're looking for James Reese, but they do mention Ben as well, and it looks like his cover's blown. Of course, he was with the CIA. Now they're looking for him. And I always thought he was under the radar, but apparently not. They finally caught up to him. Now, they're in this van, and they're heading up towards Secretary Hartley. She knows that he's on his way, because nothing has stopped this man. He's been a man on a mission. Just, you cannot. He's a freight train coming, and we also see Katie Beranek, played by Constance Wu, and this character, she is done flawlessly. I have to say, I love her performance in this, and she is in this caravan, kind of like a presidential caravan, where they're heading up to Secretary Hartley's mansion. Absolutely beautiful scenery where she lives. It must be amazing to live in a house like that, surrounded by the trees and the water. Absolutely beautiful. And we've seen some beautiful cinematography in the series. But she's heading up there to do that interview that she set up last time, because we know that Secretary Hartley used government assets to stop her story from going out. And we see James and Ben, they get stopped by a police stop, and this was a very good scene. I absolutely loved it. Very tense. And what happens is they stop, and James is ready to fight. Ben's like, we can do this. We can get through this. We have to. And so they stop, and James ends up going into the back of the van. Now, this van is a livable van. It's got a bed, refrigerator, everything. And he hides underneath the bed, and you can see him like kind of crouch under this little grate. The other cop, the main cop, he's coming to the front door, or the driver's side, and he's running the plates, Ben's license, and Ben's just being funny with him. Ben, played by Taylor Kitsch, absolutely amazing job, and I loved this character. And he's just kind of being funny with him, talking about how he knows why we're being stopped, because some little old lady was kidnapped or whatever. Just kind of a funny scene, but this is getting very tense, because he asks him to, can we just do this in silence? Just let us do our job. And this cop was all business, and he's like, you mind if we search your van? And Ben's got his hand on his side piece. The other woman cop, she's coming along the side. She goes in and she's searching, and I thought for a moment she was going to find James, and just absolutely tense. Eventually, they get through it. They go on their way. Now we see, Katie showing up to Secretary Hartley's place, and they go to proceed their interview. She's asking him like stuff like timestamps, and Hartley is basically saying that, while she kind of knew a lot of the stuff that was going on, she she was not getting paid, and she did not know about the tumors, and that's kind of like her. So basically, what she wants, Katie to do is kind of spin it a little more favorably for her because she's worried about her legacy. And this is very, because there's a part 2 of this interview later on. Now, James and Ben are on the road, and they're talking about a man by the name of Rafe R or whatever, and he's supposed to bring him a boat, and Ben doesn't trust this guy, and James is like, but I trusted you. But they eventually get to this boat, and he left a message saying, once this is done, you know where to find me. And they're off on the boat, and they're heading towards Secretary Hartley's place, because she lives out in the water, very secure place. And you see them, they're setting up covers over the windows, you got lights everywhere, so there's no way that you could hide in the dark. It's basically like Fort Knox there. You see James and Ben, they're rolling up on it's nighttime, and they're talking about, Ben's basically saying, James, you don't need to do this. You don't need to die alone. I don't want you to, die. And James is like, this is the only way. It's got to be this way. And besides, I need you as our kind of eyes in the sky in that lighthouse that's over there. And I won't be alone. And you look to the left, and you see, 2 of his fallen brothers, former, the Navy SEALs. And I think it's just a metaphor, basically saying that they're always there for each other. Now, this scene coming up is one of the most intense ever. You got, Katie, she's interviewing, and she's totally grilling Secretary Hartley and basically calling her out on her lies, saying she has 2 different stories. Right before that, Hartley's telling her about her father who had PTSD, and he died, shot himself, and she was worried about how he would attack her mom. Now it's nighttime, and James is going up there. He's taking you got Ben from above shooting out the lights, sniping people, helping him get into the building. Eventually the FBI shows up. This is Tony Layham, who played JD Pardo, and Janine Triplehorn, JD Pardo and Christina Vidal, who plays Max. Now, earlier we saw them that they put in a call to the FBI because they wanted people who just want to finish this, and even though they were called off the case, they want to just finish the job. And they show up, and you got the secretary's security shooting at them, and they're like, no, you got to stop. We're federal agents. Eventually, they're like, where's Reese? And you see Reese, and he shoots the caravan, all the vans and whatnot. But that's kind of to put him on a different path. While he goes into the house, Hartley sends her 2 guys that she has as her bodyguards into the hallway. And this fight scene that's about to happen between James Reese and one of the bodyguards was absolutely intense. And this really felt real, not kind of just like a fun fight, but you felt like this was a real fight. And eventually he takes him out with one of his axes like he's fighting a walker in The Walking Dead, and just slams him right in the head. Absolutely intense. And the music, the score that's going on right now is just creating an even more tense environment. You got lights going out, you got smog and tear gas going. Eventually, Reese gets to the other guy. He's by the safe because they're in this, locked up safe, Katie and Secretary Hartley. And he goes, James is like all business, like, open this door right now. Eventually gets him to do it. This guy's putting down his gun, and eventually James snipes him after he gets him to open the door. They finally get in, and Katie just runs up to him like, no, you don't know the whole story. And she eventually, she tells her the part that she didn't know, but how she's still, or she wasn't the one who got paid, but she's still going to be exposed for all the bullshit that she did. Eventually, Secretary Hartley, because she had a gun in the drawer, she ends up shooting herself. Meanwhile, Pardo's group is coming closer, and that's where, James takes off, but he gets confronted by Tony Layham, who's played by Pardo. He's done a phenomenal job. The whole cast has, and honestly, they all need awards on this. But he ends up letting him go because he heard that Hartley killed herself, and and also we see Reese is shot in the gut, but he takes off. And then we see 3 weeks later, we see Katie Burnick, and she sends a message to to Reese saying that the final payment went to Peru, and I'm like, where is this? This is, where is this familiar? And this is where it's just kind of getting deeper. And James says, don't continue to search for me, and she's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But then it all comes out, and it's this. I had a tear coming down from my eye from this one, because it was just really deep. We find out that Ben was the one who took the final payment. Now, he didn't know. He was basically saying that he when he found out about the tumors, that better for them to die like in their boots than to die in a hospital. And but he did not know what happened to his family, and he said he wanted to light the world on fire when that happened, because he really didn't have anything to do with that. And you see James's understanding, but Ben's like, we got to finish the list. And we hear the shot, and he takes out Ben, and then we see a map to a location that he's going to, and that's, if that scene wasn't heartbreaking enough, there's a flashback that he has again where he's talking to his his daughter, and his and she's like, but if you don't come back, and he's telling her, I'll always be right here with you, I'll always be here for you, and just absolutely heartbreaking. But then we see him as he takes the list out, the art that his daughter made of him, and he kisses it and throws it into the water. I think that's where he's finally letting go, and he was able to let go. But we see a map where he's going to Lex, next, and Reese is off, and this is presumably we're gonna get a season 2, because keep in mind there was 5 books. But yeah, absolutely blown away. Amazing series. I love this. I would highly recommend you to watch this. Check out Jack Carr's website. It is in the description. Get his books. I know I'm going to. But yeah, what'd you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Now that we all seen the series together, what'd you think of this episode? Were you blown away by the ending and what happened and what we found out? I know I was. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like and the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Love you guys.